Preliminary census reports indicate that Beaumont has declined in population. The mayor, who just returned from Austin after meeting with the governor and mayors from several other Texas cities about the census, says the general feeling of everyone there was that the counts were inaccurate. This sign says the city of Beaumont's population is close to 116,000. Preliminary census results say the figure is closer to 114,000. The mayor says both of these figures are wrong.
We have just finished a decade of the 70s, which probably has been our most exciting and dynamic decade in the history of the city, and we know significant growth has taken place, and that's a very strong psychological plus for our continued growth and prosperity. We would now then live with an undercount figure through the decade of the 80s, and I don't think we need to wait any longer. We've got to try and challenge this now.
If the preliminary total of 14,000 is allowed to stand, Beaumont would lose several $1,000s in federal funding. So in order to help convince the Census Bureau that they are wrong, Beaumont may conduct their own census using utility hookups.
Take our utility hookups for water and relate that to the occupancies on April 1st, which we've done in the areas that showed better than 10% vacancy. And from that sampling, they have missed it a mile. And we have asked them in our challenge to come back and redo that.
The last thing the city wants to do is file suit against the Census Bureau. But if it comes down to that, the mayor says they will do it.
If we don't get the satisfaction that the cities across Texas will join together and file a lawsuit against the Census Bureau.
The final census counts are expected to be released by the first of the year. Jim Oliver in Beaumont, Channel 6 News.
Oh, wait a minute.
Storm tides generated by Hurricane Allen caused minor lowland flooding along the coast, the Neches River, and the Ship Channel. Much of the area contained tiny salt marsh mosquito eggs, which produced adult mosquitoes within 7 days. The problem first came to the attention of the Jefferson County Mosquito Control District last Sunday, and control measures were initiated yesterday.
Well, we're using both aerial and ground adulterating techniques. We are spraying with the ground units in the cities and using the airplanes to cover the spoil banks and Pleasure Island, this sort of area where the mosquitoes tend to rest and hang up.
Lee Chaston, Jefferson County Mosquito Control District entomologist.
Depending on the movements of the mosquito, it could take as long as 2 or 3 weeks. We really don't know at this time. It depends on the weather and just the behavior of the mosquito.
According to Chaston, the salt marsh mosquitoes pose no threat whatsoever to human health. They can, however, be a tremendous nuisance. If you live in South or East Jefferson County and have noticed an increase in your mosquito population, call the Jefferson County Mosquito Control District at 722-5350. They'll plot your call on a map, and hopefully the mosquito population will be brought back under control within the next 2 or 3 weeks. Albert Zipp, Channel 6 News.
This was a public hearing by the South Park School Board on the issue of moving monies from the Interest and Sinking Fund to the Building Fund to create some $2.6 million to build a new gymnasium and classrooms at Forest Park High School. Most of the parents here felt that the school board has placed hundreds of thousands of dollars into the development of Forest Park High and neglected Hebert High School. Many parents say their children are not getting the same type of quality education at Hebert High as compared to Forest Park, and they say recent low test scores prove their point. Board member Dr. Richard Price, spokesman for the group, introduced the idea of merging South Park and Hebert High schools into one.
Given the opportunity to purchase some land
wherein they can build an institution of academic excellence. And that will allow these two student bodies to again have the opportunity to create a favorable and a positive impression upon the children that they try to teach.
It is a big issue, and I consider it a valid proposal by this group and a member of our board, and presume that it will receive some study and attention. If it will walk and it's feasible, I presume the idea will grow and flourish. If it is not a good idea and will not produce a good result, I presume it will die.
Most of the parents here tell me that they do not want to take any improvements away from Forest Park, rather that the district's other money should be placed at other schools. We'll continue to monitor the situation for you and let you know of any new developments. Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News.
The Beaumont City Council contended today's discussion of a burglar alarm ordinance is only a preliminary one a few alarm companies felt they should have known about.
We were contacted by the police department approximately 6 months ago to see if something could be done about false alarms and getting the things properly programmed to get in the computer so they could get accurate data. We have cooperated, and every alarm company has cooperated fully. Today, I was notified by Channel 6 at 11 a.m. that you were having this meeting. We had no prior knowledge of it.
From the timetable, as this thing has evolved, you recognize that it's not being done in haste. We welcome, I think, your thoughts and suggestions in a positive light as to an ordinance, what you think is workable, and so on, because I think it would be meaningful coming from you people in that industry.
With police statistics showing that 97.6% of the police-answered alarms turn out to be false ones, most by equipment error rather than user error, the city is looking at a proposal to levy a service charge on alarm companies who have an excessive number of false alarms. But this, in turn, would have the companies passing on charges to the consumer. Council thinks that economics would then leave the consumer to select an alarm company more carefully, to select one which would properly maintain its equipment. The council has now asked the 3 alarm companies represented today to contact other companies and come up with some positive suggestions for decreasing false alarms. Tomorrow we'll show you the alarming statistics the Beaumont police compiled on false alarms. Barbara Bedrick, Channel 6 News.
Dr. Bernard Fleener was temporarily relieved of his duties after yesterday's Jefferson County grand jury indicted him for theft, official misconduct, and perjury. He faces a court hearing next month on these charges. Fleener becomes the second administrator relieved of his job. Superintendent Richard Ledestro temporarily lost his job last month after he was indicted by the same grand jury for theft and official misconduct, a total of 4 counts. Both men are accused of misusing school funds while traveling on their own, not for the district. Ledestro was charged with the felony offense after a trip he took, presumably for the district, last November. He left Port Arthur for Costa Rica and allegedly spent about $450. The amount qualifies for a felony charge, assuming it is proven in a court of law. The superintendent has pleaded not guilty to all charges and will be in court on September 23rd. Dr. Bernard Fleener was indicted yesterday. He had told the grand jury last week he was in Houston on business in February. The grand jury determined he wasn't there, at least not for school reasons. District Attorney James McGrath told Channel 6 News yesterday more indictments in the case are possible, but not probable. But the school has decided to investigate itself. An audit on the school system's accounting procedure shows the system is not working. Acting Superintendent Clyde Gott told us this afternoon a committee is rechecking the safeguards in the school's accounting system and are redoing auditing procedures. When the school board meets tomorrow night, they will take further action in the case of Fleener's future in the school system, and it's a sure bet they will follow all of the court actions set to come. We'll follow it also and keep you up to date. Bruce Cates, Channel 6 News.
It is a big issue, and I consider it a valid proposal by this group and a member of our board, and presume that it will receive some study and attention. If it will walk and it's feasible, I presume the idea will grow and flourish. If it is not a good idea and will not produce a good result, I presume it will die.
That was a response to the proposal made by South Park School Board member Dr. Richard Price, which suggests that the student populations of Hebert and South Park high schools be combined into one and creating a new school to be built somewhere along Cardinal Drive. Those remarks were made during a public hearing in which the trustees of the South Park School District voted 5-1 to shift monies from the Interest and Seeking Fund to the Maintenance Fund to pave the way for the construction of a new gymnasium and additional classrooms for Forest Park High School, which will be built to the tune of $2.6 million. Most of the angry parents and community leaders who appeared before the South Park School Board protested what they call the board's continuous development of the predominantly white Forest Park while neglecting Hebert, which is predominantly black. The parents say they may pursue the issue further. We will continue to monitor the situation for you and let you know of any new developments. Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News.
When the county ambulance goes out and returns with a patient, it'll cost a minimum of $75 per run. After a lengthy meeting of the County Ambulance Board last night, additional charges have also been set for use of oxygen, splints, IVs, other medical services rendered, and out-of-county runs. The training course for EMTs is right on schedule, but the budget isn't. A $300,000 loss is expected for the first year, and budget trimming is going on. The original plan of 36 EMTs and personnel on duty 24 hours in Bridge City and Vidor has been changed.
We're going to run a 12-hour shift from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Then after that, we would go with an on-call group. On-call means that they would be allowed to go home, possibly take the ambulance with them to their residence, then be paged and respond from there.
A communications committee met today. Temporary headquarters are soon to be put in place, and phone installation is on standby. With the September 1st deadline rapidly approaching, ambulance service officials say everything will be go for that deadline. From Orange, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
Police records for the last 6 months show that cops made 17 false alarm calls a day. 175 cases were recorded, with police responding to the same location more than 5 times on false alarm calls. We decided to check the problem out and ran on 2 burglar alarm calls. Both turned out to be false. In one instance, we, like the police, had to wait almost an hour before the owner arrived with a key to turn off the alarm. From February through July, police personnel responded to 3,268 requests for assistance from burglar alarm companies whose equipment indicated that their clients were being victimized. Of that number, 97.6% were false, with 7.3% caused by user error and 90.4% caused by mechanical failures. The city has assumed that proper maintenance by the burglar alarm companies would cut down on false alarms. One solution they're looking at is a service charge on the burglar alarm companies for excessive alarms which police must respond to. But according to alarm companies and subscribers, the problem may lie not only in equipment malfunctions, but in phone line problems also. It appears that the entire matter won't be a simple one to solve. More on what is being done about false burglar alarms tonight on The Update. Barbara Bedrick, Channel 6 News. According to the Texas Private Investigators and Private Security Agency Act, no city can impose any service charge of any type for the use of city facilities in connection with businesses or services rendered by burglar alarm companies. The only exception to this is if the company has a central alarm installation located in the police station. The only central alarm installation at the Beaumont Police Department are for banks and savings and loans, but not for other businesses. What the cities can do, according to state law, is that they can require disconnection of any alarm signal device which causes at least 5 false alarms in any 12-month period due to mechanical malfunction or faulty equipment. During the past 6 months in Beaumont, at least 5 burglar alarm companies who service Beaumont had over 5 false alarms at the same location. The city could therefore disconnect that particular service until it was repaired to their satisfaction. And then the city could levy and collect a reasonable inspection and re-inspection fee. But the major problem here could lie in proving mechanical malfunction or faulty equipment was the cause for the false alarm and not human error or an act of God. While the city is contemplating their best possible solution to the increasing false alarms problem, one policeman told us that he's becoming complacent about finding criminals on the scene of a burglar alarm call because he has run on so many false alarms. Not only are police becoming lax, but it appears that some burglar alarm companies may also be. One subscriber's attorney told Channel 6 that his client lost more than $40,000 when the burglar alarm company failed to turn in an alarm to police. The company, he claims, said they thought it was probably a false alarm since so many false runs have been made at that location, and was a phone line problem instead. Can burglar alarm companies be charged for problems with the telephone company's lines? The final decision to this and other questions lies in the hands of the Beaumont City Council. Barbara Bedrick, Channel 6 News.
Officials from the Beaumont Central Fire Station, Beaumont Association of Senior Citizens, and Southwestern Bell announced the beginning of this new program. The Vial of Life has been effective in other parts of the country, saving many lives. Here's how it works.
The vials are something like this, or your medicine bottle. We're going to provide a piece of paper that will have all the medical information on it. You put it in the vial, and then you put it inside of your refrigerator door and tape it, and you put this decal on there that the Southwestern Bell Company has printed for us.
And of course, anything we can do working through the different agencies and saving lives is very, very important. The program, of course, is called Vial of Life, and we have a number of people that have been working very hard on it.
We would like to ask anyone that has vials, empty medicine bottles that they do not want to keep, please deliver them to our center.
You can participate in the program free of charge, and more information about it can be obtained from the Beaumont Association of Senior Citizens. Jim Oliver in Beaumont, Channel 6 News.
There, are you?
Commonly prescribed tranquilizers like these may soon become things of the past. Valium, Centrex, Dalmane, and Librium. The names are familiar to most of us. They're prescription drugs used to control the symptoms of stress. They are also drugs with a vast potential for abuse.
I would say it's because the medical community is starting to realize that these drugs are being overused or abused, and drugs such as Valium that they used to think were perfectly safe to use, they have come to realize that they can become physically addicting as well as develop psychological dependency.
Stress can be brought on by almost anything, but it usually results from change. Any unsuspected or undesirable change from one's normal routine. Its symptoms are nervousness and headaches, both physical reactions to a stressful situation. Drugs like Valium and Librium are often prescribed to control these physical symptoms, but a growing number of physicians is turning away from drugs and seeking alternative treatments.
Exercise is one of the best, and many authorities who frequently prescribe Valium and similar drugs even recognize that exercise is best if they can get their patients to do it. It causes tension in the muscles and the nerves to be released, and if a person exercises regularly, and then they can carry the relaxation over throughout the day with them, and they will not have the usual reactions to stressful situations that have bothered them in the past.
If you routinely take some of the drugs we've talked about in this report and think now you might like to move away from drugs and toward a more natural way of relieving your tension, be sure and consult with your physician, because a sudden and abrupt change could cause as many problems as those you're trying to solve. Albert Zipp, Channel 6 News.
Snoopy says happiness is the freedom to vote. Well, we found out today that people are not only deciding to register to vote, but also deciding something else.
I'm ready for college.
Why you want to go to college?
Well, so I can get a better job mainly.
Registration began today at Lamar University in Orange.
Next room here, and you get your ID. Get the check, okay? Come y'all over here.
This year, when students look at their class schedules, they'll find some new things.
We've gone into the computer science field this time, which is new. We expanded nursing. We added our geology again, our language courses again. These things are going to help and be very effective in student count.
The expanded nursing program will allow students to complete the course without going to Beaumont, and there is also a federally funded specialized welding and marine course.
We're shooting for 1,000 students to be enrolled here, and we think it's in sight for us.
We also found out it wasn't the beginning of education for everyone on the Orange campus.
Well, I finally got through. I was driving back and forth to Beaumont, and it was late at night, and so the children didn't like for me to drive. So I came over here, and I've enjoyed it thoroughly.
Congratulations to Mrs. Knott on her drafting degree, and good luck to the other students. From Orange, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
This instrument is called a rain gauge. However, during the summer of 1980, it's been more effective in collecting dust and spider webs than rainfall. Unless a cloudburst occurs during the last week in August, the summer of 1980 will by far be the driest on record. At Channel 6, we've had only 3.17 inches of rain since the 1st of June. This shatters the old record of 4.99 inches set during the summer of 1956. Now, if that doesn't sound dry, try this one on for size. Normal rainfall during the summer is 16.39 inches, which leaves us a deficit of over 13 inches for this summer.
In the past, people who wanted to apply for food stamps could only do so through the Food Stamp or Welfare Office. But as of August 1st, that has all changed because the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Social Security Administration got together and made it possible for food stamp applicants to apply at Social Security offices statewide. And as Fred Gennari, Public Information Officer for the Human Resources Department, explains, more than convenience was involved in offering the new service in Beaumont.
The big impetus behind the change was to make it easier for the clients. However, we are under somewhat of a manpower shortage in our food stamp offices. As funds continue to be a little bit more scarce, it helps us somewhat if they will use these procedures.
To apply for food stamps at a Social Security office, a person must first meet these requirements. You and your household, meaning all the people who live and eat with you, must either be applying for supplemental security income or already be receiving supplemental security income. Chances are, if you are eligible for SSI, you will be eligible to get food stamps. And for those persons already receiving food stamps who did not apply for them through the Social Security office, they must reapply at the food stamp office when their stamp certification period ends.
One point to remember,
Only the application for food stamps can be placed here at the Social Security offices. The actual determination of eligibility for food stamps is made at the food stamps office. Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.
This story is a combination of cause and effect, and mostly confusion. Taxes and truth, and for most of us, the two don't usually go together. But for the local League of Women Voters, it was a topic that needed explanation, especially during this election year, when a tax cut is being proposed. The topic is truth in taxation, a little-known bill passed by our state legislature for the benefit of all of us, and it apparently has had the desired effect.
That's another thing that mathematically I don't understand all this stuff.
What they are discussing is what the Beaumont and South Park school districts did when they raised taxes, but actually didn't. Here's South Park's tax rate, $1.45 per 100. 25 cents from it goes for debt payments, $1.20 to construction. What South Park did was increase construction from $1.20 to $1.22. They raised taxes, right? Wrong. The debt amount was lowered 2 cents to compensate. Beaumont schools did the same thing. The rate stayed at $1.63, but 5 cents went from debts to construction. Hopefully they'll still be able to pay their bills. Still hard to understand? Jefferson County Tax Assessor Collector Nick Lampson feels it's an excellent law.
If you double your taxable value, you cut your tax rate in half. In other words, don't raise any more money this year than you raised last year.
But if you do, you have to go to the public and explain why you need the additional money. I know what you're thinking now. Why did the state legislature pass this thing?
They could pass the buck to each other. One year, they could say, we didn't change the tax rate, we didn't raise taxes, the tax collector did because he changed the value of your property. Well, then another time the tax collector could say, well, I didn't raise the taxes because I maintained the value they raised, they changed the tax rate.
Button, button, who's got the button? So, what have we got? A law that's not only good for us and doesn't cost us increased taxes, but we don't have to worry about understanding it. Bruce Cates, Channel 6 News.
Southwest Airlines is supposed to pull out of Jefferson County Airport by September the 5th, but it could wind up staying longer than that if local citizens can persuade the Civil Aeronautics Board to delay its departure date. The CAB has given any opposition to Southwest Airlines leaving the Triangle until next Tuesday to come up with support to keep the airlines here. That extension came as a result of efforts by Beaumont businessman Ben Rogers and local attorney Bob Keith. Both learned that no one, not the city of Beaumont or Port Arthur or Jefferson County commissioners, had voiced any opposition to the CAB when Southwest announced that it was leaving on June the 5th. They decided that individual citizens would have to get the ball rolling to keep Southwest here until another airline replaces it with flights to Dallas Love Field or to extend its service 90 to 120 days from its present departure deadline of September the 5th. Both citizens have been on the phone to Washington to urge the CAB to give area cities and citizens another chance. Attorneys in Washington have been hired along with an economist to represent the welfare of Triangle citizens. Ben Rogers told Channel 6 News this afternoon that most mayors in the area had been contacted to add their support by passing resolutions to send to the CAB. Managers of area malls were also contacted, and the Southwest issue appears to be drawing support from local shoppers.
In 2 hours, I've gotten over 160. We knew that people, would be interested and want to keep the service, and so we thought we'd try to get all the support we could.
Area malls will continue to sign up those in support of keeping Southwest Airlines here throughout this weekend, and then send those petitions to the CAB in Washington for the final showdown on August the 26th. Barbara Bedrick, Channel 6 News.
After meeting in executive and open sessions for over 3 hours, Port Arthur School Board members Carol Lafette and Mavis Trable resigned from their positions as school board trustees. In a prepared statement read to Channel 6 News, Carol Lafette said he and Mavis Trable resigned because of current concerns surrounding certain trips made by some school board members.
The current concerns surrounding trips by the board has caused a great deal of regrettable publicity and a cloud of doubt in the minds of some of our citizens concerning those trips. We have taken 5 trips each in the interest of the district during the period September 78 through March 1980, and know each to have been beneficial to our school district. In our own minds, our intent has always been proper. However, in the present circumstances, unfortunately create the appearance of impropriety, therefore making the day-to-day functions of the district much more difficult.
Well, I'm saddened and sorry to see them leave because I worked with both of them, and they're outstanding citizens in my judgment, and they've given freely of their time in the past to work for a good quality educational program for children in this school district. They've always stood for that, and I have much respect for both of them, and I'm sorry that they have seen fit to withdraw from the board.
The Port Arthur School Board also voted to relieve Dr. Bernard Fleener of his duties as Deputy Superintendent of the school district. Dr. Fleener and Superintendent Richard Ledestro are under investigation by a Jefferson County grand jury. Acting Superintendent Clyde Gotts says that School Board President Bob Shaw will select 2 persons to fill the unexpired terms of the 2 trustees. We'll update the situation for you as more developments become available. Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News.
Hollywood Village has been the center of attention since complaints about living conditions here were brought before City Council. Several of the residents requested that an inspection be made to determine if the apartments were kept in livable condition. That report was turned over to the city manager's office, and the violations are as follows. Several apartments need painting, some need minor plumbing repairs, the wall heating units are fire hazards, windows need to be replaced, several roofs need repairs, trash and debris needs to be cleaned up, there is a sewage problem, several doors need repairs, weeds need to be removed, electrical repairs are needed, most apartments need to be fumigated, and cracks and holes need to be filled in. We also found that several of the duplex apartments are occupied on one half, while the other half has been condemned by the city. One structure that needs to be boarded up is this laundromat. The city posted a notice last week calling this a dangerous structure, but the sign is gone and anyone who ventures in here could get hurt. The manager of Hollywood Village, Kenneth Campbell, refused comment until he has spoken with the owners, who are due back in town next week to make an additional inspection themselves. The owners did tell a local newspaper that this apartment complex was kept in the best possible condition considering the low rent they charged the tenants. But if the minimum repairs are not made in a reasonable amount of time, the next step will be up to the city's Housing and Environmental Control Division, and they can recommend to the city that certain structures be torn down. We'll let you know of any new developments. Jim Oliver in Beaumont, Channel 6 News.
For some 2 years now, shoppers have been able to purchase food products known as generic items. What that means in less scientific terms is a big savings in a plain package. Randy Thibodeau, manager of the Westmont Wine Garden store, says the no-frills products have been quite successful and pose no serious threat to the big-name brands. Once a consumer is sold on a Del Monte product, he or she remains loyal. But for the bargain shopper, the generic brand fills the bill and fits the pocketbook. On some items, you can save up to 43%. For example, these peaches are a good 8 cents less than the old favorite. Reactions from shoppers were mixed, but mostly favorable.
For the price, they're good. Its contents are more or less the same, and they taste good too. So
I don't think labels mean that much. It's a good store. You know the product's going to be good.
I don't always trust them because I never know who makes them and what if the food quality is as high as a nationwide brand.
They seem to be as good in quality as the rest of the products are.
What about savings? Do you feel like you're really putting that money back in your pocketbook?
Yes, I feel like several items that we've bought, we've been able to put money back in our pocketbook to spend for other things.
Nutritionally, the plain beans and tea measure up. The products actually do come from the nationally known producers. They're just not as uniform in size or color. The latest product you can buy is none other than the generic T-shirt, and they even give you instructions for its use. Delilah Holman, Channel 6 News.
After a century of spreading the faith, St. Mary's Parish speaks for itself.
The original church was St. Vital's, and then it was changed to St. Mary's, which from it outgrew the church at Bridge City, Vidor, Orangeville, and the new St. Francis. These are pictures of some of the young men who graduated from St. Mary's and have become priests.
The religious history that began August 22nd, 1880 could go on and on, but it paused exactly 100 years later.
We're going to repeat the original ceremony of 100 years ago.
The reception and a religious history that began August 22nd, 1880 continued.
Sister Davidica Nelson is my name, and I went to St. Mary's School.
There were other memories too.
Anything nice you can say, Father Joe.
Today's events were only a beginning. There'll be more tomorrow and Sunday. And if the past is any indication of the future, there'll be another celebration, a 200-year celebration. From Orange, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
Supposedly up on the second ledge, no vacuum, and there did come up from there. And the people that was here, the witnesses, were all gone.
Every time they go across, about
Okay, so
5, 6
you want me to
foot.
stand up here and hold?
Yeah.
seemed affordable? Well, anyone who's attempted to budget their marketing trips lately are finding it increasingly difficult to eat well for less. Statistics reveal the astronomical increase in food prices over the last 2 decades. Back in 1960, a family of 4 on a moderate food plan could get by for only $32.30 per week. By 1965, inflation had upped this figure by only 90 cents. By 1970, a family could still survive on a mere $39.80 per week. The real shocker comes in realizing that 1980 grocery shopping requires double the money of the 1970 figure. The impossible inflation of the 70s has dictated that a family of 4 now must spend $78.50 to eat equivalently for a 1-week period. There is one note of good news for Texans. Food costs are at their lowest in the southwest regions of the country.
Since more women are working, then people want to have a product that is convenient and tasty, and they don't want to spend as much time in the kitchen, but people have to realize that they are paying for this convenience, and convenience products may cost up to 100% more than what the same product would cost if you made it in your own kitchen. And if people could learn to eat less meat, to substitute other protein foods for meat, we could all cut down greatly on our meat.
Food accounts for 20 to 35% of a family's budget. Also, the percentage of income spent on food falls as income rises. Therefore, the poor are hurt more by spiraling food prices. It is possible to cut corners here and there by using coupons, buying a larger size product, trying less expensive brands, and looking for meat substitutes. The only way to make it in today's grocery game is to shop wisely. Leslie Brinkley, Channel 6 News.
By now, it's no secret that many consumers have traded in their so-called gas guzzlers for smaller, more efficient cars. And since the smaller cars use less gasoline, most gas stations are now finding themselves with more gasoline than they need. The result has been a reduction in gasoline prices. Around Beaumont, some stations have dropped prices by as much as 5 cents a gallon. And what do the customers think of the lower prices?
Seriously, I hope something is done about it. Maybe the rise and fall of things will bring a change. Competition, maybe, hopefully.
I feel they're going up again, man.
You do?
Eventually, yeah, later on in the winter time, I believe they might go back up, man.
Well, I think they're going to go back up. Going to stay down as long as we can keep getting plenty of gas in the area.
I hope it keep coming down.
You like that?
I like it.
Do you think they will continue to come down, though?
Well, it's hard to say, but I hope it does continue to come down.
And there is good news for the up-and-coming Labor Day weekend. The American Automobile Association reports that a large number of service stations will remain open over that holiday period. And while it is true that gasoline prices have come down a few cents at some local stations around town, many people believe that gasoline prices will increase as the year goes on. Jim Oliver in Beaumont, Channel 6 News.
Radiokeratotomy is a phrase that's not present in too many medical volumes today. But it may become the innovation of the 80s for 60 million Americans who are classified as nearsighted.
Nearsightedness means that the eye is a little bit longer than it should be for the refractive power. By making small little incisions on the cornea in the front of the eye, this will theoretically shorten the eye, bring the image into focus on the retina, and eliminate the need for glasses in nearsighted people.
Dr. Levesey is impressed by the surgical results, which perfected the eyesight of 50 to 85% of those who underwent the operation in various studies. He stressed that the procedure is not dangerous itself, but is unpredictable. The experimental nature of radiokeratotomy leaves some unanswered questions, including what are the long-term effects of such an eye operation. 1,000 Americans have already undergone the minor surgery, which usually requires only local anesthesia and takes only 15 minutes to complete. However, radiokeratotomy is not of help for similar eye disorders, such as farsightedness and astigmatism. Dr. Levesey believes that with sustained positive feedback, the operation may be available in the Golden Triangle by January of 1981. Radiokeratotomy is setting off a full-fledged medical war, so only time will prove whether it's really the miracle replacement for your glasses and contact lenses. Leslie Brinkley, Channel 6 News.
The school volunteer program will be screening all kindergarten students in the Beaumont Independent School District next month. Many of the group's volunteers are leaving or moving to other types of jobs. Officials say the organization may see a decrease in the number of volunteer workers, so they are appealing to the community for help.
We've been screening kindergarten students forever, it seems like, but this year we're going to involve volunteers in the actual screening of the kids. We're going to be needing additional persons from the community. All of us have heard of people going back to work, and we're feeling this specifically in the school volunteer program. Parents are interested, but they simply are not able to be in the schools at that particular time. So we're reaching out into the community and asking all persons who are interested in students, in little fellows in particular, to become involved in this kindergarten screening.
The school volunteer program, which aids the Beaumont and South Park Independent School Districts, will be checking kindergarten students on basic skills.
At this time, a volunteer would be trained in the use of one particular screening instrument. This sounds terribly technical, but it's really not, because it's actually playing games with kids in basic skills, such as gross motor development, throwing a ball, catching a ball, walking on a chalk line, basics in language.
There will be an orientation and training session on September 23rd, and for further information about the program, call 892-0542. Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News.
For all of you former and present jocks, you know what the Lamar Cardinals are going through this time of year. Heat, heat, and more heat. And what's worse, they're doing it twice a day, once in the morning and again in the late afternoon. All of this hard work in the sun hopefully will pay off, because the Cardinals are trying to get all of the kinks out of their game before taking the field at the Dome on September 6th against Texas Southern. From the looks of these hot, sweaty players, you might think the heat has been taking its toll. But according to trainer Paul Zeke, the Cardinals have been pretty lucky so far dealing with it.
Basically, I think we've done a pretty good job of controlling. We've had a couple get a little bit nauseated, and we've pulled them out and cooled them down and haven't had any serious problems.
Zeke also says, among other things, the best way to keep the body from dehydrating is to drink plenty of fluids.
We had a young man that lost 13 pounds in one practice. That's a lot of body weight, a lot of fluids he lost. And then he complained yesterday afternoon that, he was flooded because we kept pouring the water down him, but that's okay. We're keeping him filled up.
And now it is time for one of those much-needed breaks. Jim Bowden, Channel 6 News.
Four years ago, less than 20 election judges were dispatched by the Texas Secretary of State's office to oversee elections in the different counties. In 1976, it was a two-person horse race, Gerald Ford and Jimmy Carter. No major independent candidates causing any kind of concern. But this year it's different, and that difference will make itself known here in the Golden Triangle. Channel 6 News learned from the Secretary of State's office that not only will the number of election judges double from less than 20 to 40, but they will keep a closer than usual eye on this year's election process. The reason? This man, independent candidate John Anderson. The reason? He's on the Texas ballot. This man, George Strake, put him there last week, despite threats of a lawsuit if he did. The fight is nothing new. Ever since Attorney General Mark White said 2 months ago Anderson couldn't be on the ballot, the controversy has raged on. Strake said White should butt out, that Strake and only Strake was responsible for elections in the state. The situation now is how to watch for problems in the voting in November. The election judges will be empowered to take action if a problem appears. What problems, you ask? Well, since it appears unlikely that a major lawsuit will settle anything, those opposed to Anderson's name on the ballot will probably try to do something about it on Election Day. Just what that could be is not known, since the Secretary of State's office is not saying, but they are prepared for whatever it is. And while the number of election judges will double in the state, it will also double in Jefferson County. According to Strake, about 6 million voters are registered this year, the largest in Texas history. And Strake said his actions are designed to make sure they get their chance to vote for the candidate of their choice, not someone else's.
The line outside the student housing office was long for the most part of the day, as many students here were either checking into the dormitory or checking to see if there were any vacancies. The so-called waiting list for those students looking for places to stay totaled over 500 at one time. That number has since been reduced, but it still stands at well over 200. The director of university housing is Bruce Strasner.
Jim, we've done several things. We have rearranged some of our facilities in our residence hall, and some of our study rooms and lounges we have converted to bedrooms that we could house an additional 100 students on campus. And we've rearranged the study lounges and have created actually some better study area for the students, and at the same time provided more bed space.
But for those students who already have on-campus housing reserved, it was relatively an easy afternoon. Most just had to carry their belongings in, find out who their roommates were, and just worry about registration, which begins on Monday.
In your estimate, how long will it be before you have all the students placed somewhere?
Jim, that's kind of hard to say, because even today we've had students come to our office and make a room request that have not applied previously. So this request for rooms on our campus may continue for the next week or 10 days.
Many of those moving in today were first-year students, or freshmen as they are known around campus. Upperclassmen were on hand to check the students into their rooms, and signs were hung to greet the incoming students, trying to make their stay here a pleasant one.
The fundraiser show opened with blind gospel singer Sandy Bond in a group called the Singing Guarners, but an audience of young and old had gathered for the main speaker, Reverend Billy James Hargis. Hargis oversees a vast network of Christian organizations throughout the world and subsidizes a local religious radio station, KDLF. Donations collected at the door went toward the Christian station. Reverend Hargis became a controversial figure on the national level back in 1976, when several magazines, including Time, claimed that Hargis was involved in a sex scandal with several students at the school he had founded in Tulsa. And Hargis allegedly replied with inconsistent explanations. So, Channel 6 News asked him about those allegations.
This man that I had fired contacted Time magazine, told the story. Time magazine, which had been an enemy of mine for years because they're liberal, I'm conservative, and we'd had this liberal-conservative fight for 30 years, they wrote the story. Now, that's all there is to it. Time magazine is not my friend. It's not the friend of evangelical Christianity. And I might add this, that I'm not the only one that's been attacked. Jerry Falwell was under attack last Monday night on NBC News. Oral Roberts was under attack a month ago on 60 Minutes. I sat at a table in Chicago with one of the editors of the New York Times, and he said, we're going to get Billy Graham. I don't know when, but we're going to get him.
Reverend Hargis just returned from a European crusade and will be traveling to Asia and Africa this October to continue his Christian work. Leslie Brinkley, Channel 6 News. The right to a free education is extended to everyone in the Port Arthur School District, including the children of undocumented aliens. 71 such students have registered and will attend class so far without being required to pay the $775 per pupil tuition. This alien registration is unique to the Port Arthur District in comparison to other Texas schools, which are under the restraint of a state law that forbids free schooling for aliens. A local court order passed last fall, however, forces the state to continue picking up the tab for aliens registered in Port Arthur. And who's to blame for this controversy over illegal aliens? Port Arthur Superintendent Dr. Clyde Gott says the problem is the federal government.
Of course, the United States is trying to be nice and helpful. They've taken in the Vietnamese and they've taken in the refugees from Cuba. And I can see the argument for the Mexican-American parents say, why not help us? We've come in for economic reasons and we'd like to be accepted and treated the same way. But the problem is a financial problem. The federal government is in error because they haven't taken a stand.
The root of the controversy is money. Predetermined state and local school budgets haven't provided the revenue needed to pay the aliens' tuition. Only 71 students are involved in Port Arthur. But if you take a city the size of Houston, you're talking about thousands of illegal aliens and millions of dollars. Until a decision is handed down, Port Arthur will continue to register all of those who look to learn, including undocumented aliens. Leslie Brinkley for Channel 6 News.
Shadow Lawn was built in the mid-50s for returning war veterans who didn't have much money. Later, these apartments were available to anyone of low-income status. But for the past 2 to 3 years, very little improvement has taken place here. It finally got to the point where these apartments were classified as substandard. The Beaumont Housing Authority had been paying rent here for many of the tenants, but decided earlier this year to slowly withdraw rental payment from the Shadow Lawn apartments.
The problem we were running into at Shadow Lawn is that a number of the units were not meeting those criteria. Tenants were calling and saying, I can't get maintenance service. The numbers of vacancies were increasing at Shadow Lawn, and it became apparent to the Housing Authority that if this trend was not reversed, then the entire project would ultimately have to be closed down as far as our participation.
Several residents are still here, but all of them have been looking for a new place to live. Some of the lucky ones have found housing, others have not been so fortunate.
Well, all I can do is just look and wait till somebody call and say they can have an apartment ready, or just continue looking for a house.
On Hale Street, on the corner of Hale and Grand, and I have my own house. It'll be a 2-bedroom apartment.
So you're happy about that?
I am very happy.
As you can see, a lot of these places are empty, probably half of them by now. Tonight at 10 on The Update, we'll talk to some residents who lived out here for a few years and find out what they thought about this place. Jim Oliver in Beaumont, Channel 6 News.
Jefferson County Commissioners have been working for the past few months to come up with low-cost housing loans for county residents. Working as a housing authority, county commissioners have been talking with financial consultants over the best ways to get lending agencies such as banks and savings and loan companies involved. Today, commissioners found out these lending agencies who have expressed an interest want to join with Beaumont in a county-wide issue. The reason? Beaumont has some money left over from its program.
The situation with Beaumont is they have about $10 million of unused mortgage loans that they're able to make this year.
But while Beaumont has the money, the opposite is true for Port Arthur.
We can't go in the city of Port Arthur right now because they have some of their funds that they're still trying to move. Number two, the only thing, if the city of Beaumont decides to join with the county, the only thing that we can use is their unused portion that they didn't use in their issue earlier this year, which is about $10 million.
12 lending agencies have already said they are ready to get the program moving. Their support is critical for success, along with the available funds from Beaumont. Bruce Cates, Channel 6 News.
The only remains of Beaumont's original commercial district, which dates back to the early 1900s, are these buildings which face the 200 block of Crockett Street. And just up these stairs are the remains of the old Dixie Hotel, known more informally as one of the most notorious bawdy houses between Houston and New Orleans from 1935 to 1961. Shortly thereafter, the Vice Squad showed their interest in the legendary house of ill repute and had it closed down. It was not until 1977 that Gulf States Utilities purchased the 3-story building with the intent of turning it into a future corporate office building. But last year, GSU changed its mind about the building's future and offered it to the Beaumont Heritage Society. This morning at a news conference, GSU formally announced that it was handing over the old building to the Heritage Society for restoration. As for its future, Heritage Society President Susie Junker says the old bawdy house has great possibilities.
It would make a marvelous office, and there's room for retail space or offices on the first floor. But these 2 floors up here are just ideal for offices.
Up until now, the old hotel has served as a storage room for GSU, but there are still a few signs of its past reputation, such as this peephole which peers out to a covered stairwell for those who didn't want to be recognized, and this light board which indicates if a room is vacant or occupied. Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.